The Pahalgam terror attack. 28 Indian lives have been lost in a brutal act of terrorism. The nation's anger is boiling over. On news channels, on WhatsApp groups, on Twitter spaces, one demand echoes louder by the day. This time, no restraint. This time, full-scale war against Pakistan. And it's easy to see why emotions are running so high. The images, the funerals, the anger. They pull at every Indian heart. The idea that a decisive war could once and for all solve the Pakistan problem seems to be very tempting. But before we get swept away by anger, we must ask a simple, hard question. If India does go to war, what will really happen? Because wars don't run on slogans. Wars run on blood, money, infrastructure, and long-term consequences. If a war is inevitable, it will happen. But careful what you wish for. Let's walk through it, step by step. Not the fantasy, but the likely reality of what will follow. If India launches a full-scale military operation, Pakistan will be history. I dare make that statement. Now, having set the stage, let's get into the brass tacks. See, the first few days will be fast and furious. Thousands of tanks, armored vehicles, and troops will surge across the border in Punjab, Rajasthan, and Jammu sectors. Air Force squadrons will launch surgical strikes against Pakistani air bases, radar installations, missile launch pads, and suspected terror camps deep inside the POK. The Navy will block Pakistani ports like Karachi and Gwadar, choking their critical oil and goods supply routes. But Pakistan will retaliate immediately. They have a massive stockpile of around 1,500 short and medium-range missiles. Their air force, though smaller than India's, will hit back at strategic Indian targets like the army cantonments, oil refineries, railway hubs, communication towers, etc. Expect missile strikes on Amritsar, Pathankot, Bathinda, Jaisalmer, Barmer, and perhaps even closer to Delhi. Civilians in border areas will have to evacuate. Over 10 million people could be displaced in the first few weeks. India will also activate its Cold Start doctrine, rapid advances into Pakistan territory to seize key positions. But remember, Pakistan is not Iran or Afghanistan. They will fight back hard. In 1999, during Kargil, it took 2 months and over 500 Indian soldiers' lives to evict just a few Pakistani soldiers. But yes, those were mountain peaks. But this time, we are talking about a full-scale war, full armies, navies, and air forces clashing. And both countries are nuclear armed. Remember that. International pressure will start within 48 hours to de-escalate. But by then, enormous damage would have already been done. See, the moment the war begins, India's economy will start bleeding. The first hit? Trade through the Arabian Sea will freeze. India relies on shipping for almost 95% of its trade volume. Ports like Mumbai, Mundra, and Kandla will turn into high-risk zones. Insurance premiums of ships will skyrocket. No commercial ship owner will risk sending vessels into a war zone. And the result, you ask? Food, imports, oil, electronics, components, raw materials, everything slows or stops. India imports 85% of its crude oil needs. Even a few weeks of disruption will cause national fuel shortages. Expect petrol and diesel price to jump by 60 or even 100%. How much is petrol now? 100 rupees? It could easily become 200 or even 250. The second hit would be the Bombay Stock Exchange. The BSE and NSE will collapse. Remember how COVID-19 caused a 30% market fall in just 2 months? A war could cause 50 to 60% crash in a week. 2 trillion in personal and institutional wealth could be wiped out in weeks. Savings, retirement funds, business investments, middle-class families will see their net worth halved. The third hit would be the foreign investors. They will definitely pull out overnight. The foreign institutional investment and the foreign direct investment, the 2 pillars that keep our tech startups, industries, and even the government project, will dry up. India's forex reserves, currently around 600 billion, will start draining at a dangerous pace to stabilize the rupee. The fourth hit, inflation. Inflation will explode. Imported goods like electronics, medicines, machinery, parts, all will become 2 or 3 times more expensive. India's pharmaceutical industry, which heavily depends on the Chinese raw materials, will suffer. Everyday items, cooking gas, medicines, fertilizers, all will become luxurious. The defense budget will surge. India's defense budget, which is 79 billion today, could easily shoot past 200 billion in a year, more than the total current budgets of education, healthcare, agriculture, all combined. All the welfare schemes, Ayushman Bharat, PM Awas Yojana, MNREGA, everything will face heavy cuts to divert funds to defense. The bottom line, you ask? India will not just fight Pakistan. We will be fighting inflation, unemployment, recession, and a national debt at the same time. See, while the economic collapse continues, India's physical infrastructure will start crumbling. Border towns and cities such as Amritsar, Jammu, Jaisalmer, Bikaner will all be turned into ghost towns. Hospitals will overflow. Schools will be shut down indefinitely. Highways like the National Highway 1 Alpha Delhi to Amritsar will become military convoys. The civilian movement will be restricted. Pakistan will target the oil refineries in Jamnagar, Bina, Panipat, trying to cripple India's fuel supply. The power plants near the border will all be attacked, causing massive blackouts. No power. The metro cities like Delhi, Jaipur, and Chandigarh could face 8 to 12-hour power cuts. Amritsar Airport, Jaipur Airport, Ahmedabad Airport, all will be high-risk zones. Air travel in northern and western India will grind to a halt. Indian railways will be militarized, priority given to troop movement and weapon logistics. Passenger services will be suspended or heavily restricted. Every damaged bridge, blown up railway line, destroyed airport, runways, everything will cost billions to rebuild. We can estimate that a full post-war reconstruction could cost us anywhere between 500 to 700 billion, an amount larger than India's entire central government budget. Projects like the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, Smart Cities, Mission Ganga Rejuvenation, all will be shelved. In short, whatever India built over the past 20 years with the painstaking effort, highways, airports, cities, could all be set back by 30 years in just 3 months. Now, inside India, society will start tearing apart. Over 10 to 15 million civilians from Punjab, Rajasthan, and Gujarat will become refugees inside India. Cities like Jaipur, Chandigarh, and Delhi will see camps of displaced families growing every single day. Housing, food, sanitation, everything will be stretched to breaking points. The misinformation and fear will rise within the community. Rumors, fake news about communities betraying the country, or internal sabotage, everything will explode. Mob violence will become common in certain areas. The trust between communities will erode dangerously. The police and the army will struggle to maintain basic law and order. People will be affected by PTSD. The suicide rates will rise. India's stand will be severely hit. Instead of being seen as a peaceful economic powerhouse, we will be labeled as a conflict zone, just like Gaza. The UN Security Council seat hopes will be gone. G20 and the BRICS leadership, it will be weakened. The global investors will vanish. The Western governments, they will impose sanctions and trade barriers. Meanwhile, China will use the chaos to extend its influence diplomatically, militarily, and economically across South Asia and Africa. See, Pakistan will be history, no doubt, but India will suffer far more because it has much more to lose. Even after the guns fall silent, the pain will continue. India's debt to GDP ratio could shoot past 100%, meaning the government will borrow just to survive, not to grow. We'll have to take loans. The poverty will surge. Between 30 to 50 million Indians could fall back below poverty line. And believe you me, it will take India 15 to 20 years to recover fully, maybe longer if there's a global recession. Talented youth, doctors, engineers, researchers, everybody will leave India in higher numbers than ever before. They will be looking for stability abroad. The society will become more fearful, more divided, and less hopeful. If we go to war now, we will defeat Pakistan militarily, but we will cripple India economically, socially, and globally. The real victory is not to destroy Pakistan. The real victory is to rise so high that Pakistan becomes irrelevant. The war should be the final resort. If everything else fails, there will be a war. And that won't be rosy. So, to all those warmongers out there, careful what you wish for.